Hey everyone, Isaac here. Before we get into today's episode, just wanted to let everyone know that we are going to be talking about a variety of topics today that may be triggering for some listeners, including domestic violence, sexual assault, addiction, and suicide and self harm. So, this is a general trigger warning for all of those topics for folks that may be sensitive to those areas. With that said, let's get into today's episode. My Voice provides those with lived experience in homelessness, addiction, mental and behavioral health struggles, and domestic violence with a platform to tell their story in their words. Every episode is conducted anonymously in order to facilitate a candid and comfortable place for guests to tell their story. My Voice is hosted by Brian Fields, who works as a case manager here at the My House Youth Drop-In Center in Wasilla, Alaska. We now join a My Voice conversation, already in progress.
Let's do it. So, my name's Raven. I'm an alcoholic and an addict. My date of sobriety is March 1st, 2023. I'll start off with the place I was born. I was born in Anchorage, Alaska. I spent about the first 13 years of my life there. I grew up in a very neglectful home. My mom, at the age of 1, she lost us to OCS. I was in foster care for about 2 or 3 years. She pretty much signed away her rights, and I don't know how she got us back. I kind of do, but I'm just kind of hoping that she didn't, but she did.
So let me say, this is probably the most succinctly and confidently that I think any My Voice guest has ever just come in. That was that right there. By the way, welcome to My Voice. Was very, very efficient and very confident and I think honestly very impressive what you just did. The fact that you were able to break that down and really set the scene for us 30 seconds in. Because normally I was going to ask you if you could go anywhere in the world, where would you want to go?
All 50 states.
All 50 states. Love it. Why?
It's been a long-term goal since I was a kid. I want to travel all 50 states. I really don't care for other countries because I'd rather not get killed somewhere else. So the
Fair
states.
enough. Rather get killed back home.
Yeah.
So now that I've completely derailed you, I want to go back, but I did want to establish the fact that where you are today, being in a place where you can talk about that is such a testament to, I think, your strength and your journey. And it's something that I really appreciate and respect a lot because both in your current profession and your work with My House, I think you're a very powerful voice. So thank you. And now that I am done interrupting, I want to let you continue.
All right, thank you. Let me see, where was I? My mom got us back, all 4 of her kids. We moved back to Anchorage, and same thing where she had her own place, and then somehow, she lost that place. We ended up going into shelters on and off, living with my grandparents. And from the age of 8 to 12, my grandfather molested me and my little sister. We took him to court. He got arrested for 2 counts of minor sexual assault. And he was so old, not old, but he had a stroke. So when we took him to court and it actually happened, he only spent a few months in jail and then 5 years probation.
Wow.
So after that, we went from living at my grandma's, being around him, to going into a shelter. And then from the shelter, we moved out here to the valley.
So you're 12 years old at this time around?
Around 12, 13.
And you've already experienced homelessness at that time, as well as other forms of abuse.
Yeah.
And that's a extremely young age and an extremely critical age where you're having to wrestle with some things that many other people will never have to wrestle with, let alone all of them at once, let alone at such a critical age. I mean, at 8 to 10 years old, I don't think a lot of other people are having to do the amount of kind of emotional reconciliation that you're experiencing. And I want to let you continue, but I do have the question of as a child, what was that experience like? How much did you I don't want to say the word comprehend, but what do you remember as an 8 to 10-year-old trying to grapple with a lot of this?
So grappling with the homelessness or with my grandfather?
I think all of it.
The homelessness, it was more of like staying in these shelters. It's pretty much a hotel setting in Anchorage. They have the women's shelter or any shelter. It's pretty much a hotel. There's no stove. All you eat is like microwave food.
Mm-hmm.
And so that we would eat a bunch of junk food the first 2 weeks. And then the last 2 weeks we would eat food pantry food. And we would end up getting protein bars and molten bread. Yeah. So that, at that age, it was all I pretty much knew.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a better life. I didn't know that people had parents who actually worked, that made money, provide actual food, cooked. So
then at 12, you guys move out here to the Matsu.
Yeah, and 12, 13, I believe I was in like 8th grade. So I was doing a semester at Beggage in Anchorage. And then we moved out here. Where do we start? My mom got an apartment. And I didn't start drinking until age of 12. So like around that time, I started drinking with my older sister and cousins.
Gotcha. And this is shortly after you move out to the valley?
No, it was beforehand.
Okay.
Yeah, and on and off beforehand. I didn't smoke or drink a lot, but it started my journey. When I brought it to my mom, I was like, I drink, I smoke weed. She didn't really do anything bad. She's like, okay. So.
Gotcha. So a lot of normalization.
Oh, very.
Yeah. Okay. So I know, just from knowing a little bit about you and kind of your story, that you did end up coming to my house at, I would say, maybe an earlier age than some other folks. So how you guys move out to the valley, and then when do you first kind of hear about and get involved with my house?
So I went from middle school to high school around 2012. I don't remember which year the My House started.
Right around then.
Yeah. So I got introduced to the My House by hanging out with friends. After high school, I'd go smoke weed, drink, play at the park, Wonderland Park. And then someone mentioned supper, food.
Yep.
And I was like, what is that? And they're like, oh, it's at the My House. They provide food. So we're all sitting there after we're getting done smoking and playing at the park. We'd walk over to the My House, and they had supper club.
And so this is right after they're in the building where we're at now. Is that that's here?
Yeah.
So it still looks like an empty electrical warehouse.
Oh, it did. Yeah, none of this was here.
But they had the cafe set up.
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Not as fancy as it is now,
Definitely not.
but
Definitely not.
I don't even think they had the boutique at the time. They didn't.
No, probably not. I mean that was so you were here in like you're like OG, like OG My House client.
Yeah.
I mean, gotta be in the first like 100, right?
Yeah.
100 clients.
Yeah.
So, and this is when you said this is when you're in high school. Were you attending Burchell?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
Makes sense, right?
well, I mean, I only ask because we have, I think, a lot of clients that are among those first clients heard about My House because they were at Burchell when Michelle was teaching at Burchell,
Yeah.
and then ended up being clients over here. But you're in that wave of folks where they've bought the building here, and there's kind of that first wave of initial Burchell students that are telling the other students, oh, hey, by the way, there's this place and this thing that you can go to. So how would you describe your experience at My House in those first years? Just dipping in for supper club. What type of services were you involved in early on?
So at first it was supper club. I didn't really become like couch hopping until like 9th or 10th grade. I think it was 10th grade that my mom lost her apartment, and she pretty much called me when I was somewhere, and she told me, you gotta find somewhere else to stay.
Wow.
We are getting evicted from the apartment. You gotta find a friend, somewhere else to stay. We can pay rent. And so at that time, I pretty much it was a shock. I was like, what do you mean you lost the apartment? What do you mean I can't go with you? What do you mean? So she informed me of that. And I found a friend to stay with. And I think at the time, I was just, at the moment, only receiving supper club. I signed up for services. And I honestly can't really remember what services I received, because they didn't have the transitional living at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, this is very early on. So it's basically just Michelle doing case management in the empty electrical warehouse. But you, that first interaction with My House is supper club. And I want to pause there for just a second, because this is one of my favorite aspects about what we do. It always has been since I first started working here, because I think that your experience is a lot of our clients, where that meal might be what gets you in the door, but it opens pathways and the ability for you to establish those connections with staff members and with people that are going to be important to you doing what you need to do and achieving what you've been able to achieve down the road. And I think sometimes people underplay that, you're just giving out food. But that's like the baseline. Like, anyone could do that. What does it actually do? Are you enabling someone? And like, outside of people not making good decisions when they're hungry, outside of it being that base level of Maslow's hierarchy, where it's an essential piece of that stabilization. But if you don't have that meal after hanging out at Wonderland Park, then you're not here today. None of us are here today in this building. That supper club, even when this was an empty electrical warehouse with like random pieces of sheet metal sticking out wherever, is really at the core of bringing people in and forming that community.
Mm-hmm. So I probably wouldn't have really figured out about My House if it wasn't for supper club.
Mm-hmm.
And I've known Michelle since I moved out here. Like, she was my
Right.
counselor over at American Charter. and then she went to Rochelle, and I kind of followed. So she's known me. She knows about my stepdad, my mom. She knows pretty much quite a bit about my past. So her being like the CEO, CO of the My House program, I guess, is a huge bonus because she knows me personally.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if it wasn't, like if I didn't know her that well, I don't know how established I would be here at the My House.
Sure.
So
going back to where you're at, you're 14 or 15 years old, and your mom tells you you gotta figure out where you're gonna be sleeping tonight.
mm-hmm.
Walk me through the next couple of years as you navigate through kind of that 15 to 18-year-old period.
So around that age, when she told me that happened, I went and stayed about a month, maybe 2 months with a friend. I was drinking almost every single day with her boyfriend's cousin. So my drinking happened a lot more. I was partying. So I went partying probably every weekend, still went to school. And then eventually got to the point where they told me I had to find somewhere else to stay. And I'm like, friggin', I didn't really have a lot of friends. Mm-hmm. Most of my friends were in OCS's care. All my native friends, they were pretty much in foster homes.
Yeah.
So I couldn't ask them like, hey, sneak me in.
Right.
So, I did have one friend, but her father was abusive. And so that was definitely a no-go. She pretty much had like a place to herself back off of Selden. It just wasn't a healthy place, so I decided not to ask her to stay there. And then I did get to the point to where like I got hold of my dad for the first time in years. Mm-hmm. Like the last time I spoke with my dad, I told my mom, and my she was very negative about my dad. I pretty much told her that I got hold of my dad, he's coming to see me, and she got really upset. She ignored me for the rest of that day, and when I went and saw him, when I came back, she locked the door. She locked me outside for hours. So during high school, I'm not with my mom anymore. I'm going to get a hold of my dad. I got a hold of my dad. His number's been the same since I was a kid. He always told me, like, if you call this number or you message this number, it's going to be my number. And I think that was the number one thing that showed me that my dad does care. And, like,
yeah,
he always has. He always wanted to be there, and he just couldn't because all that stuff with my mom. So I got a hold of him. I told him, I don't have anywhere else to go, and I asked him if we can talk. He picked me up. I went over to his place for we ended up staying up all night and talking. Mm-hmm. I told him that I don't have anywhere else to go. Is there any chance I can live here? And if I do live here, is there like a way for you to get me to school at Rochelle?
Yeah.
Because if you can't, then I'm going to pitch up a tent behind Rochelle. Yeah, I was really serious about that.
That was a priority for you.
It was.
Still was to keep going to school there.
I think the main reason why is because I don't think I know. The main reason why is if I didn't finish school there, I wasn't going to finish school at all.
Yeah.
That's pretty much how bad things were. So I made it my top priority to finish high school, graduate high school. And not only did, with moving in with my dad, I actually graduated high school a year early.
So things there improved to some extent.
To some extent. I was still partying every weekend. I was already drinking and smoking weed, so when I showed up to my dad's, I was like, I drink, I smoke weed. You can either be fine with it or... And, of course, I made that ultimatum of, I didn't really give him a choice. I was already doing it, so why not? And then I think it kind of bothered him a little bit to where he was just like, okay. So he drank with me, smoked with me. At that time, I did get a boyfriend old enough to buy for me. So I got my liquor, I got weed. Pretty much started my journey into addiction. And so I stayed with him, I think, until the age of 17 or 18. It got to a point to where he kicked me out, and I started living in a tent with my ex.
So you set this goal. You're able to achieve this goal despite everything else that's happening. But once that goal is complete, then there's nothing really stopping you, maybe.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do after high school. I didn't even think I'd make it past high school.
Yeah.
So along with that, I didn't know how to apply for a job, and I did get a job at Noisy Goose in Palmer. I was living in a tent down the street with my ex. My mom was staying in like the motel. I forgot what it was called. But during the summertime, we'd go stay in the tent, and then wintertime, we'd move into the motel. And that motel had so much bed bugs. It was just gross. It was so gross. They were everywhere. Oh. So I was working at Noisy Goose. I think I worked there for about a year. And then almost every single weekend, I hitchhiked to Anchorage to drink with my older sister. That was going on for a while. But eventually, that's around the age of 19. Just after, I don't know how long of hitchhiking to Anchorage, there was this one time that she called me up and she pretty much begged me to come see her. And I was just down the street from her. I was with my mom. And she friggin' called me, begged me. I told her I have to go to work tomorrow because I have to work in Palmer. I told her I couldn't, like, if I stayed and went and saw her, I would have to hitchhike from Tudor to Muldoon and then from Muldoon to Palmer. And so I told her no. I caught a ride back with my mom. The next day I went to work, and like around 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., my stepdad showed up and he talked to my boss, and my boss looked really mad. And so like my boss pretty much came up and told me like, yeah, you're good to go. And so I didn't know what was going on. We ended up walking back to the motel we were staying at, and I found out that she killed herself. So she was probably the closest person to me. She really cared about me. Like, she had my back like no other. And after that, I started drinking every single day, from a bottle to a half gallon. Within 6 months, I went from snoring to shooting up dope. I didn't really know how to grieve. And so I pretty much lost it. I wanted to numb that pain. I was right down the street from her. So, and I think that's one thing I regret to this day, is that I could have stopped her and I didn't. So,
what I hear you talking about in all of this is there's all these major life events that I think for a lot of people, one of these is enough to create a mental break or a period of intense grief, trauma, addiction. Any of these things that you're describing can be derailing. And I think it's just a testament to your resilience and your strength that you did complete high school, you were working a job, you clearly had the ability to, despite everything that's going on around you, to survive, to achieve things. And it, frankly, to me, it's incredible that everything you're describing can happen to one person. That you can still be here. And what you have done to overcome these things and be able to share these things is really impressive.
Thank you. Oh, there is quite a bit more. So, moving on from that part, like from the age of 19 to the age of 26, I became a drug addict. I was on drugs on and off. My house did, open up their housing. I got into it for a while, and then I continued to drink, and I would leave housing. So within all of that, my house was still there. Like, I highly depended on the my house to take showers, to get food, snacks, to come to supper club. They even provide 2 donated cars.
Mm-hmm.
So those things within, 6-7 years of my addiction, like, I assumed I was able to stop for a while, get into the housing, and still get all this stuff while in my addiction. It's bad. It's probably terrible that I can't really remember, because there's quite a bit going on. So,
but even in those off and on moments, it sounds like we're still folks here that we're willing to help.
Oh, very much so.
And I think that that's a great example, again, to just stop and focus on kind of this aspect of our philosophy of care, that we don't shoot our wounded, right?
No.
That's what Michelle says all the time. And I think that the resilience that you had to demonstrate in your life, I think I think it makes it easier for our staff when they see the resilience that you're showing, to realize that it's not okay for them to give up either, right?
Yeah.
If you're still trying to live your life and battle through this and achieve, then it doesn't matter how many times you're off. When you're willing to be, or I guess in this case, if we're talking about addiction, how many times you're on, when you're willing to say, hey, I'm ready to be off. I'm asking for help. I want to, achieve this, or I'm ready to give it a shot, that someone is willing to say yes and walk with you in that moment.
So along with that, even through my addiction, I think the major parts were a shower, food, and yeah, they didn't judge me when I came walking in looking all roughed up. I think the first time that I walked in, I was on a bender in Anchorage. It was literally like not too long after I started shooting up dope, and it was a while before I came back in. When I walked through the doors, I saw Michelle like walk by, and she took one look at me, and she turned away, and she couldn't look at me, and that part breaks my heart to this day, because she couldn't look at me. It broke her heart to see me addicted, to see me all sucked up, and nobody treated me differently. Nobody's like, Raven, are you doing drugs? What can we do to help you? They pretty much, helped me. And at that time, resources were very limited. There wasn't a detox here in the valley. There wasn't accessible treatment centers. Like there was the ranch, there was maybe Set Free. But to get into those, I had to go detox first, and detox was in Fairbanks, Anchorage, and it was quite a waiting list to get into.
Sure.
So, even though I didn't like come in asking for that type of help at that time, and even when I did, it still took some time. So I pretty much like went to detox on and off like 5, 6, 7 times over the course of the 7 years. So.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of My Voice. For local services here at my house, please call 373-4357. That's 373-HELP.